welcome to the LIEP Professional Development for the 2021-2022 school year. LIEP stands for the Language Instruction Educational Program, which if you hear this, it just means the ESL program. Okay, welcome and thank you all for this video. The reason we are here are for three reasons. Number one, to learn effective classroom strategies, things that you can use for your newcomers and little tips and tools to help the L's in your classroom and help you teach the L's in your classroom. Number two, understand the ELD, that's English Language Development Standards. And these are fairly simple, and I'm pretty sure that you all do them in your classroom every single day. Number three, understanding ESL assessments, which include the WIDA Access, and we also will go through the WIDA Screener and the steps involved to get a student into the LIEP. And we will talk about reclassification, which is when the student will exit the program. So in ESL or LIEP, there are so many acronyms. These are just the ones that we use the most frequent. ELL, which stands for the English Language Learner. So if you hear me refer to them as an L, that's what I'm talking about. Also down at the bottom, that is what we call a float. That is someone who speaks a primary home language other than English when they are at home. So their first language is not. Okay, so the role of the ESL teacher. Number one, we provide support in the content areas. So we will go over the academic language in all the content areas. Survival language for those newcomer students to help them get through those first couple of months of the school year. We test the students to get them into the program. We test them to see where they are in their English language development. We also communicate and collaborate with the classroom teacher to make adaptations and modifications to the curriculum, to the homework, to testing. If you see that the L is struggling, we can make different changes to help this student succeed in your class. Translations in the form of translations if you need a report card translated or a letter sent home to the parent that needs to be translated. I can also do translations during parent-teacher conferences using TransPerfect, which is a translating service. So you would speak to a translator and they will say what you said in the parent's native language. So just see me if you need help with any of that. We do push out and push in. A definition of an L is limited English proficiency by reason of foreign birth or ancestry. Speak a language other than English. Understand and speak little or no English. So the first step of identifying an L is number one, to look at the home language survey. Usually I get these through Ed Kobus will send me any home language survey that was checked a yes. Sometimes though, if you notice that I haven't been or I didn't screen the student and the student needs services, please let me know, because sometimes I don't receive those home language surveys. Most of the time I do, but a few have slipped through the little cracks there. So just let me know. So basically I look at those home language surveys. If they indicate a yes, that they speak another language at home, I will look through the paperwork. I will contact the guardian or parent at home and do a parent interview where I will ask them different questions. Depending on how they answer, I will then determine if I should screen the student for services. Based on the student's screener score, the student will either qualify or not qualify for services. Either case, a parent letter will be sent home, and that what we did will be recorded on the student's information page. So Parkland has around 240 L's, and this number is only growing. Within Parkland, we speak about 40 different languages, the top three being Spanish, Chinese, and Arabic. Okay, so if you find yourself as a teacher and you have a newcomer who doesn't speak the language and you're like, oh no, what should I do? The number one thing you should do is learn the student's name, okay? It makes them feel respected, included, and it shows that you care. So for example, I have the name here. You might want to pronounce this name like Koa, but the name is actually pronounced Kwa. And, sometimes it does take a few tries to understand the pronunciation. So if you feel like you don't want to keep asking the student, how do you say your name? How do you say your name? One tip that I can give you is just to record what they say onto your iPhone or your device and just listen to it a few times. And that way, you don't have to keep asking and you can listen to it and really learn the pronunciation. And if you have a newcomer who is struggling with the language, I can get them the technology that they need to survive those first couple of months. I can get them a laptop with translations on there so they can express their needs and their wants and whatever they. Okay, so you have a newcomer. Here's some tips to help them feel comfortable inside the classroom. Number one, prepare your class for the arrival of the newcomer. So if they're coming mid-year, you can just let your classroom know that, hey, we're having this student from France. They do not speak the language. Please help them get along with our daily routines. Just to establish a regular routine for the newcomers so they know what to expect. You could even print out the schedule with a little visual, and this will help them adjust. Recruit buddies to help the newcomers find their way around the school is really helpful. First of all, they already have a built-in friend right there, and there's someone that they can rely on to take them to the bus, to lunch, and those responsible students in your class, just pick one of those friendly students to help this newcomer. And the other thing is to create frequent opportunities for their success in your class. Even though they may not speak the language, there are other ways that they can express what they know. It could be a thumbs up, thumbs down, simple yes or no questions to start out with, shaking your head, nodding your head. All of these things are ways that they can express knowledge. Challenges that ELs identify. These are the top 5 challenges. Number one, no one at home to help with homework. The teacher speaks too fast. And even I am guilty of this. And I have to be aware of this because, yes, I can speak fast, but I always try to just take a step back and picture myself learning a new language and how I would want my teacher to speak. So just, going at a little slower pace. The other thing is no background in the subject. We have to remember that our students come from all over the world, so their background knowledge is going to vary from what a native English speaker or someone who was born in the US already knows. For example, skiing. Let's say you're about to read a book about skiing, and the student has no background knowledge on what skiing is. Something that you could do is just to show a little video or do a little visual of what skiing is. And there you go, boom, background knowledge in that subject. Another challenge is pacing is too fast. Once they learn something, it's on to the next. It's just super quick and too many concepts introduced at the same time. I just think knowing these challenges helps the teachers to remember what the L is going through at this point in time, and really show some empathy and picture yourself in a new country and the challenges that arise from that situation. Okay, so one of the reasons we're here is to talk about the English language proficiency standards, and I guarantee that you do this every day without even knowing it. But this is what it is. You use language for social and instructional purposes. So using that academic and that social language, the English language learner can communicate socially and for instructional purposes. And the English language learners communicate information, ideas, and concepts necessary for academic success in all the content areas. Okay, so where you can find more detailed information about the state standards for ELS is the PA Department of Education website. So if you just go to this Education PA website, you can click on the English language learners, and over here on the right hand side, you can see the English language development standards, and if you click on that, they will have all the different standards for each individual grade. Quick overview on what this looks like. So this is just one of the standards. This is for grade level 1. And as you can see, there are students who could be at any of these 5 different levels. I will let you know what level the student is at, and I will put those levels with their can-dos in your mailbox as soon as I can. So level 1's the entering, and so on and so forth. Once they hit that 6, they will exit the program. But for this, I want you to look at the this first part, which says receptive, and that is what the student can process and understand. So this is what they can understand from you. And then if you look over here, it's called productive, and this is what the student can use or produce. So the student, for example, let's say you have a level 2 emerging and we're looking at the speaking, and they can repeat phrases and memorize chunks of language stated by the teacher. So that gives you kind of like where they are at in their English language proficiency. Okay, and this is a look at the can-dos. So this is what I will be handing to you in your mailbox if you have an L. And it just lets you know their language level. And this is what they can do. So if they're at a level 4 expanding, they can compare and contrast author's point of view, characters, information, or events. And our goal is to push them to the next level. So if they're a level 4 expanding, let's push them to that level 5 bridging. And that's our overall goal, to keep them progressing in their language. Okay, so ways to help an L. These are for just simple things you can do in your classroom, which I'm sure you already do. But number 1 says to use simpler words. So for example, if you're giving a definition of a vocabulary word, maybe give the academic definition, and then you could move on and give maybe a kid version of that definition, and use a visual to help with that definition. Modeling how to do it at level 1 and 2s are looking at you to see what to do. They're looking around to their peers to understand what to do. Repeat yourself. Repeat yourself once, 2 times, 3 times, okay? I think that's helpful for everybody. Use verbal and nonverbal cues, and also have them use verbal and nonverbal cues. Get thumbs up, thumbs down, shaking the head, all of these things. Say and write it on the board. So let's say you're giving out directions. Instead of just saying it, write it on the board too, so they have something to refer to. Connect to prior knowledge. I believe we spoke about that. Using real life objects when you're introducing a concept. I think this is so helpful to actually see a real life objects when you are introducing something. Always give that positive reinforcement, and sit the L in the middle of the class. I think it's helpful for the L to be able to see clearly when they're in the middle, not so far back. But in the middle, also, they can look around and see what their peers are doing, and that's very helpful for them to understand what they are expected to do as well. Other ways that you can help the L is to have them demonstrate their understanding with hands-on activities. Instead of just written answers, they can maybe show you what they know. Think, pair, and shares for an L is so important because it gives them that think time, that wait time, which is very important because they need to process what you are saying and they need to process how they're going to answer this question. Sentence stems, just having a written sentence starter is so helpful for the L's because it gives them a starting point and it shows them what you're looking for. It could be as simple as, I disagree with Maria because, and then they can fill out the rest of the sentence. Beginning with yes or no questions for those newcomers. Try to understand the message rather than the language. This is so important because when you're learning a new language, it might feel a little you might get a little anxious or nervous about speaking the language. So number one, we want them to feel comfortable. And the way we do that is to let them speak, let them make some errors in the beginning, and not so much focusing on those errors, but try to just focus on the message that they are saying. Using Google Translate, it's not 100% accurate, but it still is very helpful. Using graphic organizers in your classroom helps the L sort information in their mind. And TPR. TPR is just total physical response, having them display their knowledge by using their body. Move to the left if you agree with this statement. Move to the right if you don't agree. Just simple things like that are so helpful. Okay, reclassification and WIDA testing. The WIDA testing occurs mid-year. We usually do it in small groups or individually. We test the 4 domains of language learning. The scores usually come out at the end of the school year around. If the student if I feel that the student could be reclassified, I will hand you a rubric. The classroom teacher, a rubric, and myself will fill this out before the test results come out. So I will take the scores of the 2 rubrics and including the access, and I will come up with a number. If it is 10.5 or above, the student can be reclassified. So if you need to complete the rubric, I will talk to you and give that to you and walk you through that. Also, if the student is reclassified, and they will get a parent letter sent home, but just because they're out of LIEP doesn't mean I'm like, bye, see you later. No, we monitor them for 4 years just to make sure that they are not regressing and that they are staying up to standard. So I will ask you for report card grades. I will check in frequently just to make sure that they are succeeding in the classroom. Okay, communication with parents. Talking points is a tool that I use all the time throughout the year. It's so helpful. You send them a text using the Talking Points website. You can do it from your computer. You can do it from your iPhone. And then the text is translated to the student's native language or the teacher's or the parent's native language. And then when they respond, it responds to you in English. Um, it's very helpful for those students who, or for those parents who do not speak the language at all. So I can send out a tutorial for whoever would like this and would like to use this. The Say Hi app is an app that goes onto your phone, and it's just an app, and then you can talk into your phone and it just translates exactly what you're saying into the language of choice. It's very helpful when you have just a quick interaction with the parent who doesn't speak the language or the student who doesn't speak the language. Just a quick like, hey, how you doing? And then it comes out in their native language. So here's an example of talking points. The teacher wrote the message in English. It got translated into Spanish, and then it just kind of pops up to your phone. That's what I like about it. It's very accessible. Parents don't need to go to their emails or anything. If you put on the phone number, boom, it's right there for them to. And lastly, the most important thing is collaboration is key. It is the foundation of our program. We need to work together to ask any questions or concerns and help each other. And without collaboration, the LIEP will not work. So I just want to thank you for listening. And thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful school year. I will be sending out a Google form so all of you can sign it and receive some hours. Okay, thanks. Thank you for watching.